With us now to break it all down, as she has done every single day of the week and the weekend before, Bloomberg's Sonali Basak. And Sonali, what does it mean for the parent company to file for bankruptcy, and who's involved?
There are a lot of questions to be considered here. I've been following this closely. I've been asking all week, why has there not been a bankruptcy filing? Now, what you'll have is creditors who will want a certain amount of money back, number one. Number two, there are certain assets that will not be included here, certain banking assets, and including some of the assets tied to his venture portfolio here and its securities business as well. What I've been hearing throughout the entire week was the difficulty, guys, it has been to sell assets to recoup value here. Now this is under the overseeing of a bankruptcy judge as well. The hope here is that there is enough money that can be redeemed here by strategic options for some of these assets.
I mean, Ed, what's interesting, of course, Silicon Valley Bank, which is previously underneath SVB Financial, well, it's still got a bridge bank, right? And it's got new executives.
Yes, we've got to be really clear. It's SVB Financial that did the Chapter 13. SVB, the bridge bank, right? It continues to be a California chartered bank under the receivership of the FDIC, so it cannot fall into bankruptcy. That said, Sonali, astonishing reporting on the Bloomberg terminal that 1 year ago, the San Francisco Fed brought in a new assessment team, quickly flagged issues at that bank, and asked management to act on it. What have we reported?
This is a very complicated thing, and there's a lot of questions being asked, not just about how they lobbied for easiness when it came to how they operated. There's a lot of questions here about whether the system across the United States is not equal to begin with. One example that you pointed out, frankly, Ed, is that the rollback and rules really helped catapult the expansion here of Silicon Valley Bank in the most recent years. I would also say that when it comes to the way they lent to businesses, they had different rules than some of the largest banks that are OCC chartered, that is the Office of the Comptroller of Currency chartered. They had really strict rules around leverage lending and lending to unprofitable venture-backed companies, which is why now when you're seeing these firms trying to buy and circle assets around that venture-backed loan portfolio, even private equity and private capital firms are saying this is a no-go because it's not how they were used to lending. So it's a complicated equation. It doesn't mean things won't get sold. People are definitely looking at the pieces of the pie and the assets here. But to your point here, regulation, the lack thereof, the process and kind of pushing for lighter regulations, that won't just be looked at for this firm, guys. It will be looked at for a lot of the smaller firms that have done the exact same thing.
Well, we talk about it's 7 days since Silicon Valley Bank failed, Caroline. And I think the question we're going to ask throughout this program is about accountability. In other words, who was responsible for what happened? And we actually do not have a clear answer on that yet.
And it's something, Sonali, that Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, is looking into, accountability. And we still have yet chips to fall with other regional lenders.
We certainly do. I think we have to look at that drop off in the stock price as well as the easing of the bonds as well. When you look at First Republic, just how much in value this company has lost this week alone. It's now less than a $5 billion company by market value. We look at what has been at SVB. We've been talking about this. My sources were saying this is a bank you could have maybe bought on Thursday night before that $42 billion deposit flight, but things deteriorated quickly. They're trying not to make this happen for First Republic. First Republic still has a lot of amazing assets. By the way, for the California community, you talk to banks across the country, First Republic really dove in a way that a lot of big banks were not on top of as quickly as they were when it came to catering to the elite of California, certainly the country. Big wealth manager, big mortgage lender, for example. And so a lot of questions about the future of First Republic as well, both for the California community as well as the rest of the country, and whether this is a bank that can be sold ultimately. And that is something the market is watching for very closely.